Do you remember owning CDs in the 90s? Well, I do. And there was something so satisfying about holding your music in your hands and flipping through that little liner inside the cover and looking at the notes and the lyrics and knowing that it was going to be yours forever and you could play it whenever you want. Fast forward to today, 2025. When was the last time you actually owned the music that you listen to? Now we stream it and we pay for access, not ownership. And it's not just music. Think about movies, books, software, even our homes. It feels like we've shifted into this world where we own nothing. And this is the great reset in how capitalism has transformed the way that we spend, the way that we save, and the way that we think about money and value. And today I'm going to be diving into why this has happened, how it affects us, and what we can do to take back control. And if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome here. My name is Sarah Brill, and I am an award-winning money mindset mentor. And over the past decade, I've helped over 100 people to achieve financial freedom. I think I said 800 people there. Um, so we're going to dive in today talking about this idea of capitalism. In my world, I think that the way that people interact with money, our relationship with money has transformed so much. In the 80s, women couldn't have mortgages. In the 70s, women couldn't have bank accounts. And all of a sudden, here we are with internets where we can, and apps where we can literally invest in something now called an NFT at the touch of our fingertips. And it all just seems so wildly out of control. And even from my experience of having coached over 800 people, I can really see how there's a lot of catching up that humans need to do in order to feel financially free, right? Financial freedom has, in and of itself, changed. Right? For everyone, financial freedom looks different, that's for sure. But maybe in the early 1900s, let's say, it was about having ownership over your home. It was about having money in the bank to have a legacy. And all of that seems to have been just stripped away over the past decade. And the first part of this little talk that I want to give you is really about the shift away from ownership into access. And I want to start us with a bit of history because back in the day, owning things, whether it was a car, whether it was a home, maybe a music collection. And I remember my first CD, embarrassingly, it was probably Jerry Halliwell, followed a close second by 50 Cent. But that was a symbol of stability. It was a symbol of success and security, right? Being able to tangibly own something and have it. And if you saved up for something and brought it, it was yours. There was a sense of satisfaction with it. And you actually enjoyed it, arguably, a little bit more because it gave you this sense of pride. It gave you this sense of accomplishment. But now, thanks or not thanks to technology and modern capitalism, we've moved away from this ownership model into an access model. And when you think about it, the music we listen to is on Spotify. The movies that we have, they're not on DVD. Do you remember Blu-ray? Yep. So they're not on DVD anymore. They're on Netflix. It's not even on a USB stick. And even cars, companies like Porsche now even offer subscription services, i.e., financing, where you rent a car instead of actually owning it. So it's wild. On the surface, this seems really convenient, right? Why buy a DVD when you can stream thousands of movies for $9.99 a month? But there's a hidden cost. And this is where the psychology of spending comes in, because subscription services have completely changed the way that we spend money. They are designed, they are specifically designed to feel light and easy. They're designed to feel accessible and cheaper. But that's because you're not dropping hundreds of pounds up front, right? So let's say Netflix, for example, 15.99. Instead of paying £150 a year, the majority of people pay 15.99 a month. And that feels like much less because it's a small monthly fee. And you'll even notice in the coaching and education industry or the service-based industry, there's a lot of people selling at mid-ticket prices because, quite simply, people forget to unsubscribe from their subscriptions. And so they end up making more money because people are so lax when it comes to small nominal fees coming out of their bank accounts. The catch is this all adds up. All of those £10, all of those fees, they all add up into something bigger. So let's say, and I do a lot of financial audits as part of my 90-day money makeover program. And I see when I do an audit all the time, we go over budgets, we go over income, we go over outgoings, and I see this all the time. Let's say you're paying for Spotify, you're paying for Netflix, you're paying for Disney Plus, you're paying for Amazon Prime, a gym membership, a meal kit subscription, even my supplements, my own personal supplements that I have, they're on subscription. And I keep having to go in and extend it every 180 days because I simply don't need that much. And suddenly, when all of these things are added up, you're spending £200 a month on things that you don't even own. Amazon. Amazon has a subscription service. So, I don't know, you buy some shoe shine. A couple of months later, you receive another one and you think, oh, well, it's only a fiver. I'm not going to bother cancelling it. It's wild. It's wild because many of us are spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on things that we don't even own. And that is not just in personal finances. I see it too in entrepreneurs and solopreneurs when they have expenses coming out of their business that they've neglected because they just don't want to look at their numbers. And what is happening here is psychological. Subscriptions make spending feel painless in the moment. It is instant gratification. But over time, they create this culture of habitually spending. And in my world, I think, and the reason why I decided to do this little mini pod was because I saw a post about earning more money. And I just feel like because these expenses are recurring, it eats away at people's ability to save long term because they think, well, it's not even possible for me to save that amount of money. So there's no point even doing it. So let's just focus on earning more money. And it becomes this vicious cycle where I see even people earning 60K plus, even like 250K plus. And it never feels like enough because whatever level you're at, even if you're earning millions, instead of, renting a Porsche for the day, you're now renting the Bentley. So at every level, there is a new devil. And this is something systemic within society that is happening, that is not being spoken about. Calm down, Sarah. So this is really impacting how people are saving. So the reason why this gets me really frustrated is because I want to see more people living out their dreams. And money is the vehicle that allows us to do that. But obviously, we can't live out our dreams and donate to charities and give our time to places that need our help or support, or be able to support our families if literally we have these recurring payments going out of our bank accounts at this level, which is keeping us at a status quo. That's what's happening. You increase your income, your subscriptions go up. People don't necessarily go in and look at what they can unsubscribe to. Or if they do it at a very high level, which doesn't actually look holistically at someone's financial situation. And that's twofold. That's because people don't know why they're doing it. And the system is designed to keep us that way, to keep us playing small, to keep us not from fulfilling our dreams. But it's also happening because partly because of the system, but also partly because people just don't know how, right? We haven't been educated about it. All we hear is people like Martin Lewis switch to a higher interest savings account. And while that's great, we really do have to be thinking about the change that is happening in the world right now and what impact that is having on not just our savings for now, but our legacy in the future. So, this brings us into savings, or maybe the lack of it. And when we focus on access rather than ownership, the value of saving for big ticket items declines. So I'll give you an example. Previous generations saved for years to buy a home. You think about your parents, you think about your grandparents. They saved for years to buy a home. Today, with skyrocketing property prices, right, it just feels so unrealistic. But that combined with the rising cost of living and all of these recurring expenses, it feels impossible to save for something so big. And so many people are just like, right, I'm just not going to bother saving. And that might not even be something that's conscious. It's something that is subconsciously ingrained in us. Yeah, you can go on holiday now to Disneyland if you want and not have to pay a penny. It's crazy, right? But you're probably going to end up feeling guilty about that at some point whilst you're on the holiday. But that's a conversation for another time. But instead, what's happening is we're focusing on smaller, immediate comforts. So things like these streaming services, things like gadgets, right? So phones, you can just get a subscription to your phone now. You can subscribe, you can pay off your trainers on subscription, literally anything that you want, you can subscribe to on subscription. And the things that you can buy have actually decreased in quality. So if you think about, I don't know, a tumble dryer that was bought in the 80s, the longevity of that tumble dryer is going to be so much longer than the tumble dryers that you buy today, even though technology has advanced, because consumerism is built like that. The system fundamentally needs us to buy more, right? To keep them in business. And so we create this vicious cycle that's happening whereby you can just pay off your tumble dryer on a subscription and you're not going to own the tumble dryer, but it doesn't matter anyway because it's going to break. And then you'll get the next one and then you'll put that on subscription. And so it's this constant battle of just feeling like you're never getting anywhere because you're always living at that status quo. Right. And it gives us those quick hits of satisfaction, but never gives us that lasting freedom that we actually want because we're always just exchanging time for money because we're not leveraging our money in a way that's growing expansively. And you can read between the lines here that I'm talking about investing, whatever type of investing you believe is right for you. But the thing is, the more we spend on these comforts, the further away we get from true financial security. And that's really, really scary. That's really scary. For a lot of people, it might not even be scary, but if you're here watching this, you probably care about financial freedom to some degree. You probably want financial security. You want to be achieving your potential. You want to be giving back to the world at large, but it constantly feels like you're on the rat race, you're on the running mill, even though you might not actually be in the rat race and you're on your own business. You might be feeling like you're on the hamster wheel, so to speak, because we're all living in a capitalist society where we need money to live, right? So, what's the big picture here? What's the big picture? The shift from ownership to access is part of a larger trend in capitalism, right? And as I said before, it's designed to keep us in a cycle of constant consumption. It's designed to keep us in a cycle of constant consumption. But there is good news, as there always is. There is also a time of opportunity. This is also a time for opportunity. And younger generations are redefining what wealth means because they have been brought up in this society where they do understand how these apps work, where they do understand how to leverage their assets because they have to, because they've been brought up in a world where they didn't have CDs like we did in the 90s, right? Kids today have Spotify. So they are the way that they're brought up is very different to millennials, Gen Xers even, et cetera, et cetera, right? So younger generations are redefining what wealth means. And for some people, it's not about owning things, right? It's about experiencing life. And that's not everyone. So or if this is your first time to me, you might not know that I do something called the sacred money archetypes, which is better understanding your money personality. And everyone has a different combination of a top three money personality. Some people might love to own things, particularly the accumulators. Some people might love to use their money to experience life a little bit more. And those might be the romantics, they might be the celebrities. So if you want to do that quiz, I'll leave that in the description box below. But some people want to experience life, and that means, travel, it means personal growth, it means connection. So that might mean, investing in things like networking events, for example, or it might mean investing in holidays and actually paying for those holidays rather than putting it on finance. Other people are embracing minimalism, right? And that is rejecting this pressure to consume more and focusing on building financial freedom instead. Now, the question here is, what does wealth mean to you? What does being wealthy mean to you? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for your life? And how can you align your spending and saving with that vision? And a lot of people say, well, I want to just have enough to do what I want when I want. And I'm sorry, but that is not a strong enough financial goal. You need to get really specific on how you would actually spend that time, on what you would actually do with that time, right? Time is money. Even if we're setting financial goals, it's important to get really clear, crystal clear clarity on what that actually means for you, because wealth means something totally different for different people, right? If you have three kids, wealth to you could mean being able to buy a car so you can, or two cars so you can take the kids to school, right? If you're single, maybe wealth to you is having the freedom to go out and pay for dates, right? It could look very, very different for different people. If you're coming up to retirement age, for you, wealthy might be not having to worry about money during your retirement. Okay, so you can see how at different stages of our life, our priorities are going to be different and our values are going to be different. And that's okay, because life is not linear, life changes. We just have to get clear on the vision and get comfortable with how we're going to get there and get comfortable with the uncertainty along the way. There was something else that I wanted to talk about, which has gone from my mind. So let's keep on track with this. I want to talk about how to take back that control, right? Um, because if you're feeling stuck in that cycle of spending but not saving, there are things that you can do. Some of these I cover in my program itself, but to give you a taster, the first thing that you can do is audit your subscriptions. It's the new year, it's a new start, create for yourself a new budget. You do not need to do a budget every day. Common question that I get asked, how often do I need to do a budget? I would suggest to do it once every 6 months or when your circumstance changes. For example, you pay off a car finance, your mortgage changes, you get a new job or your partner gets a new job. When you have a big circumstance life change, you can redo your budget. But really, a budget does not need to be done every month. Once you've done your budget, you want to be automating it. So you're not thinking about it. So you don't have to have the headspace thinking about it all of the time and going into your bank account and giving yourself anxiety every single day. That's not how we create financial freedom. Financial freedom is when you have things set up in a way that's going to help you achieve your goals so that you can live your life now free, right? So obviously there's nuances within that, and please feel free to drop what your version of financial freedom is in the chat. But as I started, the first point, audit your subscriptions. Take a good look at any recurring payments that you have. Often, when I do this with my clients, they think they have a couple of subscriptions, but as it turns out, they have loads. That's okay. We're not looking for judgment. We're just observing where your subscriptions are going because it's likely what you're spending money on is things that you value. And so the most important thing about money is spending it in a way or investing it in a way that aligns with your values. If you're someone that loves traveling, you know, maybe you're not going to be wanting to spend loads and loads on certain subscriptions because it's not going to align with your vision of saving up. I do actually remember what I was going to say before. It was actually about minimalism, but let's come back to that. So the second thing is set savings goals. Even if it feels small, you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. So saving £50 a month for like a bigger goal is better than nothing. Ideally, you want to have a savings goal that is, well, we use the SMART methodology, right? So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. So set a savings goal. When do you want to save that by? How much do you want to save? What is it going to look like when you achieve that thing? And to do that, there's loads of savings calculators that you can use on Money Helper that are free that will help you calculate that without having to get your phone out and work out the calculations. The third thing is redefine what wealth means. Write down what financial freedom looks like for you. What does it actually look like for you? If you're someone that loves to do a vision board, you can definitely do it for financial freedom. What does it look like? Is it owning a home? Is it about traveling more? Is it feeling secure in retirement? Right? What does that version of wealth mean? And for different people, that's going to mean different things. And if you're an alchemist and you're saying things like, and alchemist is one of the archetypes, but if you're saying things like, it's not about the money, stop discounting and rebelling against money. Because by doing that, you are not leveraging the vessel which is going to help you achieve your life goals, right? If you want to achieve your purpose in this life, right, you have to have money, despite what the Great Reset and all of this capitalist change is actually telling us, right? That's what they want you to think. But we know that if you don't have money, right, you're disempowered, you're going to have a credit card, you're going to have a loan. It's not going to feel like your money. You're going to feel disempowered all of the time because you're going to feel like nothing is ever yours. You don't own anything, right? So therefore, vis-a-vis, our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality, and therefore we feel worthless. And I know that might feel harsh, but tough love is very, very important because, yeah, if we don't own anything, self-worth is very, very low. Makes sense. What's the phrase that I often say? Net worth is a reflection of our self-worth. So what is in our bank account is actually in reality a reflection of our internal beliefs about the value that we give to this world. So wealth just isn't about money. It's about feeling aligned with how you spend and how you save it and what you do with it. So just to wrap up this impromptu talk, rant, whatever you want to call it, about creating financial freedom, capitalism has changed the way that we think about money. It's changed the way that we think about value. It's changed the way that we think about ownership. And I don't know about you, but I haven't seen anyone talk about money in this way, right? I've seen a lot of people talk about, oh, I'm a financial coach. I want you to earn more money, earn more money. And honestly, it's driving me up the bloody wall because what use is it if you earn all the money in the world, but you don't have the skills to actually manage it, right? I want you to imagine money is, okay, savings account is the vehicle. Money is the thing that's going to help us get to the vehicle, right? We ourselves are the vessel. Humans, we are the vessel. Money comes in, money goes out, flow, in, out, in, out. We as humans have the capacity to take that money and expand it, right? As humans, we are expansive. That's what we are here to do. Unfortunately, we are at the whim of these machines, which literally blindly we are incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing. We look at our bank account, bang on zero. That's it. Money's gone. We don't own anything. Screw it all. Let's just be happy with our lives. But no, I want more for you. I want more for you. I want more for your life. You want more for you. You want more for your life. You can feel it. That's why you're watching this video. But, we need to be redefining what wealth actually means to you. Okay. When I ask people, what do you actually want? What is financial freedom to you? They say, well, it's not this. Not is a self-sabotaging word. It's a limiting belief. If we say what we don't want, I don't want to be broke, what we're actually putting out to the universe is want to be broke, right? Because our thoughts don't recognize the word not. So you need to get really clear on what it is that you want, right? And don't feel bad about it because so many people will set themselves a goal and they'll go, ooh, actually, that sounds really greedy. Do I really want to make £1 million? That just sounds ridiculous. What are my mates going to think? What's my family going to think? Yeah, let's just forget that and let's just work on saving £1,000. So I see it all the time. It's really, really common. If you think like that, you're totally not alone. And it's also not your fault because it's just the way that we have been brought up in today's society. So define what wealth means to you, and then you need to be making conscious financial decisions. You need to be making and taking aligned action in that direction. Obviously, if your goal is like £1 million, right? But you're quite far off that, it might not feel realistic. But it's understanding that perfection does not come overnight. It's from taking small, consistent actions over a long period of time, which is going to help you get there. Which is why the earlier you start with your money and getting aligned with your money and making the most out of your money, the easier it is going to be to get there later on in life because your money has been compounding and it's been working for you. Again, conversation a bit deeper for another time, but high level, you get the idea. So this is going to help you to break free from the cycle of constant consumption, because the idea here is we want to be saving up money, at the very least an emergency fund if you don't have one already. And if you don't know how much to save for an emergency fund, I would say 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. If you are a business owner, I would say 6 to 12 months worth of expenses. If you don't know what your expenses are, that is what a budget planner is for. Or you might want to call it a conscious spending plan. So just reframing that language around that. Conscious spending is more about being aware of where our money is going. A budget can feel a bit restrictive. It can feel a bit like, oh, we're restricting how much we can spend. Whereas conscious spending plan is saying, right, what am I consciously spending money on? Is it on these subscriptions that I actually use? Or is it things that have been sitting there for months and months and I've never even looked at? Right. And typically, the more financial responsibility we have, the more outgoings we have, and the harder it is to get to the bottom of what we actually want to discard and make space for. So, to conclude, let me ask you this. What does financial freedom look like for you? What does it look like for you? And if it helps, close your eyes, journal about this after this video. What does it look like for you? In 10 years' time, where do you see yourself? In 5 years' time, where do you see yourself? January 2026, where do you see yourself? And what is one step that you can do today to get yourself closer to it? What is one step that you can take today to get closer to it? So thank you very much for tuning in, listening to this. If you found this helpful, let's keep the conversation going in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content like this. If you have any questions, please do put them in the comments. Drop me an email. And until next time, stay aligned, stay abundant, and take control of your money journey. See you soon.